Hello, Danicker here, and welcome to my world record speedrun of the world's hardest game 3. Today I'm going to be providing a post-run commentary on this run, in which I achieved a time of 48 minutes and 30 seconds, which is a crazy 5 minutes ahead of my personal best 53 minutes and 30 seconds, 9 minutes ahead of the second place holder Jacob Mosner, and almost 17 minutes ahead of the 2014 run by Curab, which he set a time of 1 hour and 20 seconds. So in this video I'm going to provide some commentary on the strats I've used in this speedrun and the good and bad parts of this run. As you can see, I'm just completing level 1, which is not too difficult, and it's only a small part of the run, with the total time being 1:47 out of a 48-minute run. But it's a nice warm-up. It's a fun level. Yeah, this room here, B1, is probably the most difficult part of the level, so I take it reasonably slow, especially on the return here, because a death can cost a little bit, but the checkpoints are very close together in level 1, so deaths aren't too costly. I did get this level in 0 deaths. I usually don't continue a run unless I get level 1 in 0 deaths, because it is just so short and it's easy to reset. And yeah, so the routing for this room comes from Curab's original 2014 run, and it's a beautiful route, pretty easy to perform, and it looks it looks really cool. And then we just head back to C2 to complete the level, and we're going to be finishing with a time of 1:47 for that level there. Then into level 2, unfortunately here we have to wait for a little bit for the right cycle to get these coins here before we head into C2. This room's pretty easy, although the wheels can catch up to you if you're not taking the right lines. Yeah, definitely my first death in a run is often in this room. But in this run I managed to get it through without any deaths. And then we're into C3. At the bottom right of this room is very tight, especially this move I'm making right here. That's incredibly tight, that one at the bottom. And you have to do this twice, a checkpoint in the middle. So often I'll get 1 or 2 deaths in this area in a run. There's not really much room for strategical improvement, but there is room for skill improvement, definitely. And yeah, so I got that in 0 deaths on this occasion. This side I take a fairly easy route. There are harder, faster routes that Jacob uses and the IL guy uses in his individual level speedrun of this level. But in a full game run I choose not to use them because I just find they're too unreliable, and a death in that area can cost you 10-15 seconds. So yeah, in general in this game it is tempting to go for the fast strats, but you really want to make sure that you're not dying, because deaths cost a lot more than, just saving 1 or 2 cycles. Speaking of saving 1 or 2 cycles, there is a faster route for this room here, again that the IL guy uses in his speedrun, but it only saves 1 cycle and it's very difficult to do, so I'm not going to use that. In this room I would usually skip some of these enemies, but I just take them one at a time here, just moving 1 square at a time. I don't know why I did that, I just felt like playing it a little safer, and it paid off because I do often die in that area, so getting it through and no deaths is certainly worthwhile. Being a little bit more adventurous in the top half of this room than I usually would be in it, yeah, I get killed for it over there, but that's not too big of a deal. Now A1, this is pretty easy. These guys that I'm going through now, they can catch up to you, but it's not too difficult. And then this room here, when you're in the center of this room, you just focus on the center line, and you'll notice here I'm about to go just below the center line, and then I move just above it, just before I leave those enemies, and then we go back into A2. So currently the clock is at 4:45, Curab finished level 2 with a final time of 5:17, and my PB was 5:44. Curab actually had an exceptional run of level 2. He ran it in 3:16, which is just 5 seconds behind the individual level world record. My run of it was much slower, but I gained some time on Curab in level 1, so I end up just 5 seconds behind him when I leave. So as you can see, Curab has just finished level 2 now, and we're just a little bit behind, and we come through and we've finished level 2 at 5:22. So now moving into level 3, and this is where I gained an absolutely huge amount of time in this run. So I completed level 3 in about 7.5 minutes, and the usual times for this room are 8, 9, even 10 minutes. So yeah, I gained, I think about I gained about 2 minutes over my PB and about 1.5 minutes over Jacob and Curab's runs in this level, which actually is really surprising because this is one of the levels I'm least practiced at. I don't know, maybe I just had a really lucky run. Yeah, so in this room here, I decided to get the coins on the way back, whereas I used to get them on the second pass through this room, but I decided to get them on the way back because of the way the cycles work. It's actually faster to do it that way. This part here I use a slightly slower strat than Jacob's strat, but I find it more reliable, so that's what I go for there. I missed the exit out of that checkpoint a few times for some reason. That can happen, doesn't matter, only loses a few seconds. And then coming through this room, this was one of my big time saves in this level, was getting this room in 0 deaths. I don't know, it's not a particularly difficult level, but somehow I managed to always die in this room, and yeah, it really shouldn't happen. So it didn't happen in this run, which is good. I was able to execute my route with no problems. So just coming back through here, yeah, and coming back to the checkpoint. And my route for this area is slightly different to Jacob's, especially on the way back here. You'll see me going between the enemies rather than going above the enemies. I do a mixture of both depending on the cycles. Going above the enemies is easier, but it's not that much easier, and sometimes it is easier just to go through the middle. Depending on the cycle, it can be a lot faster. Quick death there, lost a bit of time, doesn't really matter too much. By the way, 6 deaths at level 3 is very good for me. I usually die a lot more in level 2 and in the early stages of level 3, so I'm pretty happy with my death count at this point. In fact, for the whole run, so I ended up with 74 deaths, which is a personal record by far. I'm not sure exactly what my PB was in terms of death count, but 74, I don't think I'd ever got below 100 before this run, so yeah, I really did have a really lucky run. And yeah, so you'll notice I also got C2 in 0 deaths, which is nice because that's also a room where I often die. So heading back now, we're heading up to A1, which is one of my favourite rooms in the whole game, and I had an absolute blast coming up with a route for it. I have a faster route, but I decided to go with a slightly slower strat in this run that's safer. But it just looks really nice, and it's really fun to play this room. So yeah. I think also Curab had a very fast route for this area, but he died, I think, at least once in the screen. So although he had a slightly faster route, that immediately means that he was slower than me. So like I was saying before, the key thing is that you don't die. So yeah, so taking it a bit more cautious on the way back, but still pretty fast. And we're going to be heading down to A3, which is not one of my favorite rooms, but one of my best rooms. I can't remember the last time I died in A3. Yeah, for some reason I do really well in A3. And so you'll see that in a second, and I can do it pretty fast as well, so that really helps me in my runs. Yeah, so going through here, it is a fun room. It is a fun room to play. If you play it safe, it can get a bit boring, because it is easy to just, you know, find two squares where you can just alternate between them and be safe, and you don't get sort of put under the same pressure that you do in some other levels. Yeah, so we got the key in the green checkpoint. We're coming down to the key at the bottom here, and we don't actually need that key in the middle. That's for an optional room for the yellow paint, so we're just going to skip straight out of this room once we get this key here. Yeah, and while I'm thinking about it, you may notice the mouse pointer is on the screen. The reason for that is I've lined it up to perform the menu pattern skip in level 4. However, in this run, I actually chose not to do it, so it's kind of pointless, so I apologize for that. But yeah, it's lined up with the menu button, and yeah, if you watch Speedrun, he actually performs the main menu skip. I usually perform it in most of my runs. It's not difficult, but I decided that I'd rather have just 5 seconds to take a breath, you know, give my hands a bit of a break, relax, take a breath, and then resume afterwards, because the skip only saves like 2 seconds, and over a 48-minute run, you know, it doesn't really matter that much. So, and also it is possible to stuff up the skip and then you end up behind time, so that's not very helpful. Now this room here, I really should reroute. It's not very fast, and I can die in it sometimes. C1, however, is, yeah, probably the easiest room in level 3. However, I can't actually remember if I died in this run. Actually, I think there was a different run, yeah. So usually I get this in 0 deaths, but I did have a recent run where I died 2 or 3 times in here, but it looks like, yeah, we're gonna get that in 0 deaths, which is good because it is quite a long room with just the one checkpoint in the corner there. So if you do die, for example, if you die now, you would lose, you know, 20 seconds or something. So yeah, so heading back into this room, and again, I think what I should actually do is get these coins, get them on the way in, and get the top coins on the way out. The left side of this room usually gives me more trouble. I mean, this is the world's hardest game 101, these alternating enemies in a grid formation, so I should be better at it. But yeah, they usually cause me more trouble. Here I just had the 1 death, and actually at this point I looked down at the clock and I saw 12 minutes, and that's just unheard of. So like I said, this level was my best level, and it was really good. And 12 minutes is unheard of. Usually you'd see 13 or 14 minutes on the clock at that point. So I knew I was going to get an IL PB. So yeah, finishing that in 13:01. So I got an IL PB, and also that's the fastest time I've ever completed the first 3 levels by far. So coming into level 4 here, this screen I used to find very difficult, especially the top half. The bottom half not so much, but I don't know, I've gotten better at the top half and now it's not too difficult. I decided to go for the key first and then the checkpoint, because I figure I'm more likely to die up there than I am down here. So coming into this room, my routing on the first pass of that room is not great. Maybe could be rerouted, but it's okay. This room here is quite difficult. Yeah, you can lose a lot of time, but I got through that first pass in 0 deaths. Now this room here, I believe I've cracked. The secret is just focusing on the enemies and forgetting that coins completely. And that really helped me with that room 4C3. Now I'm using Jacob Mosner's route for those 4 coins there, which was much easier than my old route, because my old route was the same as Curab's, which is very difficult. So thank you, Jacob, for that new routing of that area. Here, this is my original routing, and it's really neat and really fast. I like it here. Yeah, it's nice. And then you hop over this enemy, and you're out the door. So I got both of those in 0 deaths, which is great. This is also my original route for this room here. It's somewhat difficult, but I can pull it off reliably, and that makes it worth it. So, yeah. And this room is also one of the laggiest in the game. As you can see, the FPS is struggling a little bit, but it's a really fun room. And yeah, lots of death lines, this room here is deceptively difficult. It looks, it just looks easy. I don't know, it looks inviting. And if you let your guard down, you can dive very easily. The turning wheels can catch up to you if you don't go close enough to the middle. Yeah, but I got through on 0 deaths, which was great. That was really good. Now this room is, for me, the second most difficult room in the entire game. I'm using, again, a route by Jacob, which he showcased on his YouTube channel for this area. And on my PB run, I actually got this on my 3rd attempt, which was really good. On this run, it took me a few more attempts than that, but I still got it reasonably soon. I don't know if I got it this attempt. Let's see. No, okay, so I think it might be the next one or the one after. But I still got it through in a low number of attempts, which was really good. So 4E5 and 4B4 are the two hardest rooms, and they're the most variable rooms for a speedrun because you can lose minutes. You can lose minutes on the single room, so... but that's not where I gained my time. 4E5 was okay, and 4B4 was okay, but neither of them were great. So most of my time was gained on level 3 and level 5, and I guess the rest of level 4, the other rooms, like not dying in this room. Well, okay, I just died there, but that doesn't lose any time. So again, this is my route here, yeah. Yeah, the thing that makes 4E5 so difficult is the enemies moving in circular paths, and like if you look at this room, for example, I'm traveling in straight paths, which means I just press one key and then I press the other, or I press both of them to move diagonally, but I'm not traveling in curved paths. The thing about curved paths is, yeah, it's just really hard to control and travel in a curved path, so yeah. And this is basically a reflection of my route for this room here. And again, it's a really nice route. And I got it on the first try, which was really nice. So that really helps my time. Yeah. And coming back through here, I am getting some of the coins, but again, I'm just focusing on not dying. I'm just really focusing on not dying. And only on the very last pass, because we come through this room 4 times, only on the very last pass will I absolutely focus on the coins. For the rest of it, I'm just focusing on not dying. Now that's a tight route right there. Curab uses it in his run, and I've incorporated it in my runs because it does save a little bit, and I am able to get it reliably. And yeah, if you missed it, we just headed into L4D2 in a crazy time of 18 minutes and 2 seconds. So that's just insane. My PB is 20 minutes and 50 seconds. So that's almost 3 minutes ahead of that. And I think in Jacob's run, he had a similar time. In Curab's run, he had like a 21 or a 22 or something for that. So yeah, absolutely crazy. To be in this room after just 18 minutes. Unfortunately, I had a death in this room when I was collecting the key, if you missed it, which shouldn't really happen, but it's okay. It does lose quite a bit because it's quite a big room, and I get all of the things at once, so dying means restarting. Probably lost about 30 seconds to that. Yeah, something went wrong there. I need to practice my route for that part there because I wasn't in the right spot at the right time. I didn't really know what I was doing. And a little unfortunate death there. Those things happen. Like all of the movements I'm doing here are incredibly precise. So yeah, messing up just one of them will lead you back to the checkpoint. So now we're going to be heading back into C3, where you can see there's already only 6 coins left in this room. And I haven't even paid that much attention, so I'm just going to collect those ones there, and then I'm going to come over here and collect these ones, and then I'm done. And after I go through this room, we will be in the infamous 4B4. Yeah, so let me just finish my route here. Yeah, this route could be improved. It's not as fast as my return route, but it is still pretty fast. Oh, and an unfortunate death there. Yeah, so losing a bit of time. Now I've got 22 deaths at the moment. Jacob actually got here with, I think, 17 or 18 deaths, which is very impressive. Sometimes I get hit with less deaths. Usually I get hit with more. So yeah. So now here we are. We are in 4B4, and like I said, my run of 4B4 was not great. I think it took me about 4 minutes, which is good. Jacob has done this room in 3 minutes. I think is his personal best. I think this run was actually my. No, I think I did this room once in like 2.5 minutes. But it can absolutely slaughter you. In the very first sub-hour run of this game, which I set a time of 59:15, I spent 6 minutes in this room. And yeah, the difficulty of this room is just you have to keep tapping the square forward just bit by bit, and there's just so little room in between the enemies that yeah, if you tap at the wrong time, you're either going to get caught by the one behind, or you're going to run into the one in front. My personal strategy is usually like what I call chasing. So I chase the enemy in front of me, and I don't even look behind me because you can't split your attention. You cannot split your attention in this room. So I just chase the enemy in front of me, focus on that. I usually, yeah, really focus on the screen, and yeah, but it's still really difficult. Also, you notice around the corners, because of the way the movement mechanics of this game, when I approach a corner, like I'm about to do right here, see I'm approaching a corner, see how it pushes me to the other side? So that's something to be careful of in this room, and it's really dangerous. Because it will push you towards the enemies and away from where you want to go. And the reason why that happens is because the game has a mechanic where if you're approaching a corner that you would otherwise clip, it will push you to the side so that you can actually clear the corner, which is actually a really helpful feature and is used throughout the run extensively. And the game would be so much less fun to play if that feature was not in it. You don't actually notice it unless you really study the game, but it's incredibly important. It would be, yeah, it would be a really annoying game if that was not in it. Yeah. Okay, so basically now we've done the first half of the room. Yeah, and it took us about 2 minutes. I'm not too thrilled at this point in the run about my B4. At this point, I was putting a lot of pressure on myself to get a really good 4B4 because I knew my level 3 split was just so good. I knew I was going to get a world record. So I really just wanted to get a good B4. And I think some of that pressure is the reason why this area that I'm doing right now, I actually died quite a few times in, which shouldn't happen. That's actually the easier part of this room by far. It's still difficult, but I should be able to get it in 0 deaths every time. If not, 1 death, but I think I got like 3 deaths in here or something. Anyway, I think I'm coming through now. Yeah. So we're coming back through here. And here the corner clipping is to my advantage. You'll see as I come down here, the corner clip actually helps me. So I got through there the first try, which is excellent. And this middle strip is not too difficult. This section here it's not actually any different to the second segment on the first time through, but the psychology you've got to think about, because once I get through this section, it's like I've got a green light, it's like I can run. Like here I've just got to crawl, I've got to crawl and crawl and crawl. And as soon as I get out of here, it's a weight lifted off your chest, but before that weight can be lifted, you have to make it through. And as soon as I touch that checkpoint, I'm over the moon. I know I'm going to get a world record, and I know I'm going to get a world record by quite a bit. So yeah, I don't think I mentioned it, but the segment time for L4 to D2 was 4:58, which was a PB as well as, I believe, a world record. I mean, I don't really know about the segment times. So that was exceptional. Also, my level 3 segment was a PB, and I'm about to set 3 segment records in level 5 for all 3 segments of level 5. So hopefully that's fun to watch, and I'll talk you through that area. And unfortunately here I died quite a few times on my return through C4. Not quite sure why that happened. I mean, it is a difficult route, and this is a difficult area. In fact, this whole room is, really difficult. A great room though, a really good room. Really, really creative and innovative. Shout outs to Steven for making this game. Absolutely fantastic game. My favorite of the series, which is why I'm running it. And yeah, in this room, I've got a pretty neat route to mop up all the coins that I left from behind. Sorry, not from behind, from before, when I came through this room earlier. Missed one there, doesn't really matter, just go back and get it. And here we are into A2, the final area of level 4. Now this room shouldn't cause any deaths, but more often than not, that's not true, not more often than not, but quite often I do die in this room, which is a shame because it can actually cost you quite a lot of time, because even though you're not covering much ground, this room is slow, the rate at which you move through this, This room is also interesting. It's a bit of a callback to, I think it's level 40 from the World's Hardest Game 2. Has a very similar mechanic, but this room took it a little bit further. And the optional paint is fun. So right here where I am now is where I could do the menu pattern reset. Basically that involves going to the main menu and doing continue game, and it actually resets the pattern of the enemies, which allows you to start your route sooner. Saves a few seconds, but I decided, like I said before, I decided not to do it. Because I just wanted a few seconds to just take some breaths. I was on very good pace, so I didn't want to stress myself out too much, give my hands a break, all those sorts of things. So we're coming up to time for level 4 after a few maneuvers through these enemies here. This is just a matter of memorization. It's not actually too difficult to execute. And there we go, we're into level 5 at a time of 27:29, which is just unheard of for me, at least. So my previous segment for that was like 2.5 minutes slower than that. Now this room is interesting. I used to really struggle on this room. Now I only struggle on the middle segment, which you see me completing right now. And I usually don't die on the outer segments, and you'll see that in this run. But here I died twice getting the bottom coins on this middle segment, so I might reroute this because I'm not very happy with my consistency on the route for this area. Yeah, look, I died a third time, so that's not great. But I will get there eventually. I did consider going back to my old routes, but instead what I decided to do was leave that coin there and get that on this pass, which means it's a little slower because I have to go back for it right now. But so I did get there in reasonable pace, and this is beautiful. So just watching this, the route I found for this room is just really perfect. Look, as I come over to that checkpoint, I can just walk straight through and then just wait for a fraction of a second before heading back. Barely any time lost, and I collect the other coins on the way back as I go down the bottom. You can collect all the coins from one side, but since my route involves going on both sides anyway, I decide just to collect the one coin. And a similar thing here, really nice route, just waiting for a fraction of a second before coming back the other side. And then we're into B4. Now the right side of this room has caused me some trouble in the past with my recent runs. So I do need to practice that, but in this run it was actually pretty okay. I don't know how many times I died there, but it wasn't many. So I need to route it basically. The thing is I haven't really routed it properly, so most of what you're seeing is improv. which is fun, but yeah, it leads to a lot of deaths. So moving into C4, this is a very easy room unless you get caught out where two of these sort of rods are like merging. If you get caught in the middle of a merge, you can get killed. It's pretty hard to avoid death. But as long as that doesn't happen, it's a pretty easy room. So I'm just taking my time to collect all the coins here. I may look at routing options more in detail in the future for that room, because there might be some areas for optimization. In this room I'm using a route very similar to Curab's route, but slightly different. No key clip there, it's not really necessary. And then on the way back, I think this is slightly different to what Curab did, but it completes it in about the same time. So yeah, we're out of there with 0 deaths, which is good because it's not a very difficult room, but if you do die, you do lose quite a bit of time. So I'm very happy to be out of there in 0 deaths. And coming back into C4, we collect the last of the coins and the key that allows us to go to C3. And C3 is also a really cool area. In fact, we're about to see the first major key clip of the run. So if you haven't seen a key clip in this game, that's what it looks like, and that's straight from Curab's run. Him and Brad discovered that, and yeah, I've implemented that in my run. Basically, what a key clip is when you collect a key that opens a door that's not on the screen that you're in, it's going to display a little cutscene showing you that the door's open, and just before it cuts to that cutscene, you're actually going to be invulnerable to enemies for a short time, and that enables you to actually pass through enemies. So as you saw in that room, I just passed through the enemies, which saved me actually quite a lot of time, because otherwise I would have had to go around the long way, because I can't really come back the way I came. Now heading into B3, this was a big time save in this run. Yeah, I can die quite a lot in B3, especially on this left-hand side with this, what I think Curab dubbed the maze. Yeah, so this is sort of, yeah, this area is not too difficult if you take it slowly, but of course we're doing a speedrun, so that makes things, yeah, infinitely more difficult. I think I actually get the left side of the left side in 0 deaths, but the coins here on the middle, I think I died a few times getting those, but that's okay, because usually I die a few times on both of them, so to get the key deathless and then die once or twice on the coins is okay. And you may not be able to tell, but for this left, actually for both sides of this left side of the maze, I do actually have a predetermined route of exactly how fast I'm going to go through it. Oh, and I missed the checkpoint there, so I'm going to have to go around again to get the checkpoint, which loses 5 seconds or so, but that's okay. Yeah. Yeah, and in this side, it's slightly different because some of the paths actually close off, so there's only so fast you can go through here. And I go almost as fast as you can. I think you could probably go 1 cycle faster than my route. Not certain about that. Probably possible. So I think I die 1 more time going for these coins and I get it on my 3rd try. Or maybe I die again. I think I die again. We'll see. But this, yeah, this side of the room is pretty tough. And this is where things start to get really difficult. Yeah, B3 is certainly up there with one of the most difficult rooms. The right-hand side, not so much. I used to find the right-hand side really difficult, but we don't actually need the key for the any % run. And the coins, I've now routed that, and it's really easy and really fast. So you're going to see that in a moment. It looks really cool, the route that I've got for that area. Much faster than Curab's route and Jacob's route, so that saves some time. So here we go, up to there. So we're just going to grab those coins, and then we're going to be heading into C2. So yeah, look how fast that is. Oh, and then I missed a coin. Oh, I did actually die here, yeah. So yeah, I died on the way back. So you'll see it executed properly here. So it's a lot faster. Grab all the coins, slightly tight maneuver there, and then yeah, we're back into B4 in no time, and we're going through the wheel here. Now you could get the checkpoint, but this room is so easy that it really isn't worth it. Yeah, now the trick here is I go over to the left here, just to get out of the way of those yeah, merging rods. Now because we didn't get that key in B3, we're going to need to get these coins the sort of non-legit way. So we're going to go through this pass up to the top side of this room and then do a little maneuver here to get through this wheel. It looks difficult. It's actually not too difficult once you know the grid cues. And then we actually have plenty of time to move our way back to this room, and those other coins we'll get those coins on our way back. Now this room, I'm pretty happy with the route I've got for this, but I think it could be improved. So I may reroute this room in the future. I don't know. Yeah, and I died a few times, which I think was mostly just due to like the pressure of being, because at this point I was 5 minutes ahead, not quite, like 4.5 minutes ahead of my PB, even further ahead of Jacob's time and Kureb's time. So I was under, yeah, I was putting a lot of pressure on myself to get a good run. So yeah, so finally I got just those few sets of coins and those 2 keys, and I got back to the checkpoint. Now I'm going to get a few more things and come back to the checkpoint, so it's a little inefficient. So I do want to reroute this room, and yeah, oh wow. Yeah, let's see. So there's definitely a lot that can be shaved from this run. It is a lot faster than the runs that came before it, but there's still a lot of time that can be shaved here. A sub 45 is definitely possible, but it would be, you'd need a really good run to get it, so I don't know if I'll ever get that. I do want to come back to this category, but I'm going to take a break for it for the moment. I'm going to do some ILs, maybe try some of the other world's hardest games, like the 2nd or the 4th one perhaps. Yeah, then in this room, I was very happy to get this room deathless, because yeah, both the bottom and the top half of this room can cost a lot of time if you die. Yeah, so, and I do often die in both of them actually, but in this run I died in neither, which is very good. So I did get lucky in this run, for sure. But, you know, the more skilled you are, the more likely you are to get lucky. So, yeah, and yeah, I'm certainly happy to take this top room the way it went down because I got it deathless, but there is room for routing improvements up here without too much difficulty increase. You'll notice I spend quite a lot of time just hopping into weird locations to gather just one coin, and certainly there's potential for routing improvements to get the coins as I go, get them faster, and that means if you die, you know, less time loss, and it shouldn't really make it much more common to die if you learn the route properly, because it's not actually too difficult. This room is actually not that difficult. I'd actually say it's easier than the room below it, or when I say the room below it, I mean the top half is easier than the bottom half. But the thing about this room is that both the bottom and top half, it is extremely time costly if you die. You can lose 30 seconds to a minute. Yeah. And we're heading into 5D1, which is usually a room I don't have much trouble with, but in this run I did get quite a few deaths here, which was a bit of a disappointment because it's usually a room that I do quite well in. So that was definitely a bit of a letdown, but I didn't lose too much time, maybe about, honestly, probably a minute in tops. So yeah. Now, yeah, just then I knew I was going to die, but it doesn't save any time if I don't go for it, so I go for it anyway, yeah. So usually I get this part with not much trouble, but I think I died a few times on the return. Yeah, like just here, yeah. It is pretty tight, but it's usually not too much of trouble. So at this point I was getting a little bit frustrated about things. In terms of speedrunning, there's not really too many routing options here. This room is just about timing and precision. There's not really much you can do to make things faster. There's not really much you can do to make things easier. You just got to do it as intended. So there we go, completed that part. So there's 4 parts to this room, completed 3 of them. This one is regarded as the most difficult, but I actually find it easier than the other parts. Usually I get it in 0 deaths, and this time it looks like I died once. I think I might have died again. Yeah, I think I died again here. Yeah. But you'll notice at the moment I have 71 deaths, and this run ended with 74 deaths. So even though we have 8 minutes left, we're only going to die, 2 more times. Yeah, am I going to die again here? I think I get it this time, let's see. Yeah. So that's just, yeah, it's a very precise maneuver, and there's not really much to it other than getting it in the least amount of deaths possible. Now in future runs, I might not go for the checkpoint up here, but at the moment I do, just for security. But I think, yeah, because it's actually quite difficult to get that pass. That's the most difficult part of this room, is that right side there, going past the enemies. And yeah, I might reroute that in the future. This route here could also be improved. It looks, you can see I wasn't really sure about what I was doing, that's why I backed up there. Heading to this room, I had an early mishap that caused a death, but it wasn't too big of a deal because then I got the rest of the room in 0 deaths, which is great because this room is minutes long. I think the time loss returning on this room is actually more than A2, but I haven't actually timed it, so I'm not sure. But if you analyze the video footage, you could see how long it takes to do this room. And my strategy with this room is slightly different to how it used to be. I used to get all the coins as I went through, but now I favor gaining distance. And then, because both the top and bottom of this room you pass through 2 times, so on my second pass I can pick up those extra coins. And we're about to see something cool at the bottom of this room. So yeah, this is our second key clip of the speedrun, second and last. And if you've never played this game, you might be wondering, well, what enemies are you going to clip through? You'll see that in a moment. The route I'm taking here, collecting the coins, is a variant of Brad's route that Curab showcased. I do it slightly more efficiently than Curab did in his run. Curab played it a little bit safer than I do. But yeah, you're about to see something pretty cool. Yeah, so the idea with that room is if you're a first-time player, and you know, I got with this the first time I played this game, yeah, you run in, you collect all the coins, and there's actually not enough time to collect all the coins before those enemies sweep in. They kill you, you lose a lot of time, and if it's your first time playing the game, you know, it's taking you, you know, maybe 50 attempts to get to that room, because this room is difficult. So yeah, you lose a lot of hard work, you're excited about getting all those coins. It's a pretty funny prank. I appreciate it. Nice prank, Stevie. Jacob uses a pattern reset to avoid that, but the key clip is slightly faster, probably saves 10 or 20 seconds over a pattern reset, and it's not too difficult to do, so that's what I use in my runs. And we're on the home stretch now, so all we need to do now is get to A3, which is Curab and Brad dubbed as level 6. I agree. It's got a different color, and it's actually not, I wouldn't say I'm disappointed, but it's not actually as difficult as you would expect, or at least I don't find it very difficult, and which is great because if you die, it loses minutes, because this checkpoint up here on the top left is the last checkpoint we're going to get in the game until we actually finish And yeah, I think I'm gonna, oh, maybe I do. Oh, I die right there, right. So that's my last death of the run, because I actually do get level 6 deathless, which is something I've been able to do in a lot of my runs, which is, yeah, like I said, really good because it just saves so much time. So I end up getting level 6 in about 3 minutes most of the time. That's including the cutscene. But it is still difficult, requires a lot of concentration, and under the pressure of a world record run, it's easy to buckle and slip up. Especially the very far right room I take very safely. So this room here, I mean, I've gone through this room hundreds of times in my attempts at A2, so yeah, this shouldn't really cause any problems. I really like what Stevie's done here with having this sort of really like monotonous and repetitive room, followed by the next room you'll see has quite a lot of variety, and I really like that. I don't know why, but it really works. So yeah, here I'm using Curab's route on this left screen here. And actually this is probably, for me, it's the most temperamental area of A2, because, I don't know, I die a few times there. And this is probably the most difficult area in A2, especially these coins that I'm collecting right now are ridiculously difficult, but repeatable, yeah. So going over here, this is, yeah, this is similar to Curab's route, slightly different, I think, but mostly sort of inspired by that route. And then here, I just improvise this. The cycle on this changes all the time, so it's difficult to route it, because every time you reach it, it's a different cycle, and you don't really want to wait because the cycle only repeats like every few minutes. So you don't really want to wait for the cycle that you know. So it's pretty easy to improvise, but it just means taking it a bit slower. Yeah, I like this screen as well, or rather this room that I'm in right now. It's my style. I like the double intersecting lines. And there we go. At this point, I'm just celebrating massively, and you can see the clock is 47:30. And you might be thinking, hang on a minute, the run's 48:30. That's because this cutscene here takes a whole 60 seconds. So while we're sitting through that, let me say some thank yous. Thank you to Stevie for making this fantastic game. Thank you to Curab for running this game in 2014. I saw that run in 2014. I rewatched it, a few times over the years, and just the other day, a week ago, I caught Jacob Mosner's run of this game. He did it in 1 hour and 2 minutes, and that inspired me to run this game. So my first world record was 59 minutes and 15 seconds, and then I set a new world record of 53 minutes and 30 seconds, and Jacob Mosner improved his time to 57 minutes and, I forget the seconds, 57 minutes and 15 seconds I think it was, and that's time there. And then I set this time of 48 minutes and 30 seconds. Yeah, which is a vast improvement on previous runs. It is beatable. I will try and beat it in the future, but for now I'm probably just going to be doing ILs. Also shout outs to Snayk for composing the music to the World's Hardest Game 1, 3 and 4. And that is also the backing music that you're hearing with this video. So there we go. I hope you enjoyed the run. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.